Do you expect, though, that Congress and Republicans will still help these Americans in need, even if they don't like their local politics in the party?
I expect that there will be strings attached to money that is ultimately approved, and it has to do with being ready the next time, because this was a gross failure this time.
Okay, so that is Republican Senator John Barrasso being asked, or can you assure everyone who's super worried about how the LA fires have been utterly politicized by, well, everyone, I guess, but especially Republicans who see it as a way to take down,
got a bunch of notes, I
guess, Gavin Newsom, someone that they're worried about, in the future. And so can you just assure us that you're gonna help them? And the first thing he says is, there will be strings attached. That's the first thing that he says. And he's hardly the first person to say it. Obviously, they're gonna try to get out of this whatever they can. Now, as of right now, federal aid and state aid is flowing in and is likely to continue to arrive. But that said, even with that aid, LA is gonna take years to recover in whatever form recovery comes. Now, just a couple days ago, Biden said that the federal government is gonna cover 100% of disaster assistance costs to California over the next 6 months, saying climate change is real, this is a national concern, so they're gonna help out. And that's great, because obviously LA and California could use that money. But the issue is that in exactly 1 week, he's not gonna be in charge anymore. And maybe that money will continue, or maybe it won't, because Donald Trump thus far, the only effect he's had, or the only role he's played in this a huge disaster, which is now being bandied about as possibly the worst natural disaster in terms of like cost in American history, like it's getting up there in the range of like a Katrina. All Trump has done is spread misinformation and vicious political attacks. That's it. He's treated this disaster like every right-wing troll on social media. He's not been a leader. He certainly has not been a helper. He's refused many requests to come and see the damage. I guess he's worried that were he to see it, maybe like the tiny little bit of empathy he's capable of experiencing, it'd be harder for him to then just viciously attack everybody involved in the recovery, those who are trying to manage the disaster, the fighting that's going on right now. And so a lot of people are really worried about what's gonna happen when he takes over. And his most recent social media activity doesn't make me feel that much better. He's spreading these dumb memes that people are saying Trump was right. Yep, because he said that there'd be fires, and what do you know? Thanks to our approach to climate change, there will be, and they'll be worse every single year. And then he goes on to say, incompetent polls have no idea how to put them out. Why can't they put them out? What's wrong? These are all questions asked from the perspective of a stupid person who doesn't want answers. They want you to go and see what they're doing. Thousands of firefighters deployed. Firefighters that have come down from Canada, from other states, firefighters that have been offered from Mexico and have arrived. You could see what's actually being done. But again, that might make it a little bit harder to just snipe from the distance, score political points and all that. And so there are very real concerns. Francesca, I know a lot of people are seeing rents now being jacked up in the wake of the disaster. There's laws that are supposed to stop that, but we're already seeing 50, 60, 80% jumps, which obviously cannot be rationalized. Even if everybody in Pacific Palisades and Altadena was suddenly flooding down into other markets, that does not justify a raise like this. And so again, those people worried about losing their housing, being priced out, they need a champion. And Donald Trump has already proven that he's just a vulture when it comes to this. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of discombobulated, unorganized thoughts, but just a lot of anger at things like this. And anyone who is playing into these narratives without actually offering real solutions that are serious, not just we don't need a lesbian fire chief and a black female mayor. Like, these are deeply unserious thoughts, right? And the idea that a Republican in California on the statewide level or on a citywide level would do any better in the face of 100-mile-per-hour winds with embers just completely lighting up entire blocks in a matter of minutes, with no aircraft being able to carry any kind of water or provide any kind of relief because of those gale force hurricane winds is just very funny to me. Like, yeah, obviously, it's like the winds, they're very anti-woke. So they were hitting all these neighborhoods, that were supposedly woke. I mean, this is the kind of pea brain stuff that we have to deal with. And I feel like every single, whether it's a natural disaster, which is man-made as we know, or whether it's a mass shooting, right? Which is, again, something we know how to tackle with gun control. When it comes to your community and you see the ways that these urchins, that these vultures truly try to capitalize on your own pain, there's nothing quite like it. And so for me personally, as my family has lost their entire home, right? Like my sister-in-law lost her entire home. I am like livid at this kind of baby brain ass take, because what Trump was right about what? That they should have voted Republican? That Rick Caruso, a billionaire mall magnate, could have solved this by turning the Pacific Palisades into a big beard papas? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
I don't know. I don't.
So I mean, that it's just really gross, John. Like, I don't know. And there's a lot to say, because that initial thing that the clip that you played, Republicans are basically saying we are going to tie any relief for Californians who come in all kinds of political stripes. We're gonna tie relief to you, to our ability to pass massive tax cuts for the billionaire class. That's what they're saying now.
Yeah, or a mass deportation maybe, or destroying Medicare or Medicaid, as we'll talk about later. I mean, who knows? They want to get something out of it. And yeah, I don't know. Was Rick Caruso gonna like wave a magic wand and there wouldn't be wind anymore? I don't know. Or if Donald Trump was in charge, would he have just told them, no, you have to fly anyway, and the planes might have crashed into the hills? I don't know, because they're not saying. They're not. What I think is, I guess, one dark lining that we can take out of the New Year's Eve attacks, and this is, everyone buckle the hell up, because this is what the next 4 years is going to be. Donald Trump and the Republicans are going to fail through both incompetence and the fact that what they will purposefully do is not designed to help regular people. The combination of those two things will be horrific for regular people, both libs and conservatives. They obviously cannot continue to hold power under those conditions. And so they are going to, and already have, constructed a second world, a second reality that exists almost entirely in social media. And that is where they will squirrel all of their followers. And every single bad thing that happens, even if it is directly their fault, they will turn into an attack on migrants, or an attack on trans people, or an attack on black people. I don't know, but that's what they're going to do. Every one of these things just becomes whatever culture war, identity politics thing they want to fight, and that's what it's going to look like. If John, you want an idea of the next half decade, just imagine LA on fire, but across the entire US.
Oh yeah, and imagine if the shoe were on the other foot, right? And imagine if that was a Democrat saying that we need to temper our aid every single time. Just recently, September, Hurricane Milton in Florida, massive hurricane, like the second or third largest recorded, massive hurricane, massive destruction. Biden immediately pledged 100%, same thing. I will make these families as whole as possible, right? Same exact thing.
Do that.
Insurance companies are also pulling out of Florida because of floods and hurricanes that are out of control. And instead of coming together, and I truly mean that, because climate change does not care who you vote for. Instead of coming together on this, Republicans are hell bent on tempering it. Biden never did it. And wasn't a part of me, John, every single time we reported on these disasters, I feel like I would come on the show and we'd be like, what's Biden saying? And there was a part of me that was like, is he gonna like kind of hit DeSantis for continually disbelieving in climate change and hollowing out any kind of climate responsibility, or erasing it from the website? Never, he never, and like, maybe he should have at least mentioned that we need to take climate change seriously, and leaders like Ron DeSantis are gonna get us all killed, but he never did it. He said, look, it doesn't matter, I'm just gonna give you all this money. And so, John, look, you and I started doing Mondays under COVID. I'm getting COVID vibes again, right? Like, I'm getting the same, people are dying. we see reality before us and we're just being told not to believe our lying eyes.
Yeah, and the amazing thing about that is they willingly failed under COVID. The right wanted Trump to do even less than he did. The more people got sick, the more people died. It didn't matter because they created, again, this online reality that was about freedom and lockdowns and all this stuff. And it didn't matter that he failed. Now in this, like, I don't, again, there's so much I'm not saying that everything that Gavin Newsom or Karen Bass did or whatever was right, but much of what they cited initially proved to be misinformation, which if you want to criticize them, that's fine. We should be willing to criticize them. I have no loyalty to Gavin Newsom, but we have to do it based on actual facts. And the idea that they can point to all of this, have a little bit like a sugar coating of misinformation and be as critical as they are when they were fine with Trump doing rallies saying, stop the testing, we don't need testing. Oh, now all of a sudden the government should be responsible. And I just feel this massive disconnect between the way people thousands of miles talk about what's happening in LA versus how LA is talking about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like I'm not everywhere in LA, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are enraged and probably should be, but it just feels so utterly disconnected through that filter of social media.
Super quickly, I agree with you, and I just want to say that if you are in LA, you're seeing and feeling nothing but solidarity and love, and people who are really sticking their necks out for one another. So we are like blocking out all the BS and trying to focus on one another.
100%, the exact opposite of what the right did under COVID.